Hey everyone, before we jump into the episode, a quick note. The audio quality on this one isn't quite up to our usual standard. We had some unexpected technical issues during recording. We're not saying it was the Men in Black, but let's just say the timing was suspiciously perfect. If you hear any strange static or audio blips or echoiness, assume they were monitoring the conversation. Thanks for bearing with us. We appreciate your patience, and we'll be back to our normal sound quality next time. Now, on to the episode.
What's going on with Three Eye Atlas? Is there a heartbeat? Why is the UN doing an interplanetary defense exercise? Who is Avi Loeb anyway, and what is the Loeb Scale? I'm Chris Daly, and I'm here with Ryan Geckner.
Did we learn anything new from the Age of Disclosure? Krampusnacht is tonight. How should you celebrate? This is Headlines from the Week.
Well, welcome back to our second episode in our little Three Eye Atlas set of episodes. So we're going to start with just some updates on what's going on with Three Eye Atlas. But then
doing more weird stuff.
It is doing more weird stuff. So let's talk about a few of those weird things. First of all, you may have heard that it is emitting some sort of weird light pattern, and some people are referring to it as a heartbeat because it's got a periodicity to it.
Three Eye Atlas is alive.
It's alive and well. So the periodicity it's a change in light that's happening every 16.16 hours, which is just really interesting to me.
It's really slow.
It's slow and 16.16. No, that's an interesting number.
It's weird. We should get some numerologists on the podcast to tell us why that's important.
Because I couldn't tell you, but I just found it interesting. So some people are also calling it a pulsating variability. It's just another way of saying the same thing. So you could attribute this to a nucleus of the comet rotating on an axis. And the axis ratio would then be about a 0.8 if you do the math. That's why it would have the 16.16. So that's one possibility, is that it's just a rotating nucleus and that we're seeing sun reflecting off different pieces of it differently. The problem with that idea is that most of the light coming from this comet, or whatever, is not actually from the nucleus. It's from the cloud of dust around it, or the halo. It's a glowing halo, also called the coma. So the coma itself is transparent, but most of the light comes from that rather than the nucleus. You can kind of see the nucleus in it because of the transparency, but it is this sort of orb of dust. Orb of dust. It's kind of like hauntings.
And it's an orb. Come full circle.
Yep, come full circle. And that's where the light comes from. So it's probably not just the nucleus emitting this light. So another possibility, one that I think does seem to make more sense, is that it's the jets. So we've talked about the fact that there's multiple jets coming off of this nucleus, and there's several of them. There have been at least 7 that have been confirmed. There may be more. And so these jets could be, and then this is if it's a natural comet, they would be pockets of ice on the surface that erupt when the sun's heat hits them. And so they blow off, they shoot off gas. And so if the nucleus is rotating, that would happen periodically. And so it wouldn't be actually the light, it's the jets that are emanating that light. And it's the same kind of thing. The nucleus is rotating. And so every 16.16 hours, these things go off. And that's why you see pulsating light. They could also be artificial. So yeah, I mean, the idea of these little, what are they calling them? Ice volcanoes. And so if you think about it, I don't know, do you remember the old movie Armageddon?
Yes.
In Armageddon, when they're sitting on the asteroid, at one point the sun's light hits it and you start to see things kind of erupting.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Okay.
That's what they're talking about. Another weird thing is that it might be breaking up a bit, which could be from the sun heating it up.
Could be, landing craft, leaving a mothership. You never know.
It might be. But there's a thin layer of material that's sort of coming out of it in 2 streams, and one stream is going towards the sun and one's going away from it. So that feels weird to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a little weird.
But it's this thin layer, and there's something in it, dust, rocks, whatever it is, or maybe little ships.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
Something else that's happening is that there's a lot of scientists who are coming out saying, this is not alien. People just need to stop saying it's alien. I get why they're doing that, but it kind of bothers me, and I don't know how you feel about that, but it kind of bothers me that people are getting so anti the idea that this could be anything but natural.
Yeah. I mean, I don't particularly like that there seems to be a tendency for folks to just automatically write that off. I think, yes, we've never found anything like that before, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. Loeb's opinion on this, or Avi Loeb's opinion, who we're going to deep dive into today, is that, we should remain open to that possibility. And that, if we don't, then we won't find anything cool, new, and different if we're constantly looking for the stuff that we already know about. And I think that's, to me, that just seems like bad science. If you're gonna, claim to be a scientist, you should want to find things that aren't necessarily what we know about already.
And you should be open to looking and understanding something for whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. For whatever it is.
Or not.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly what Loeb is saying. He's never said, "Oh, this is alien tech." He just keeps saying it's doing these interesting things. We should look at it, and that should be one of the hypotheses.
Sure.
That we're doing.
Yeah.
But I've heard some scientists say, "Oh, it's irresponsible to tell people that this is alien." I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I don't really get that either. I don't understand what about it is necessarily irresponsible.
He's not saying go out and like take all your money out the bank.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Yeah, right. Exactly. It hasn't caused a bank run or anything like that.
That was irresponsible. War of the Worlds.
That was irresponsible. But I don't. It makes me think about that Netflix movie, Don't Look Up, where there's a comet coming and no one's paying attention to it and everyone's ignoring it. And it just makes me think of that.
Movie.
It was great. And I think it really is just people aren't paying that close attention to it, so except for like us. so I just don't see what's irresponsible about it, because Loeb's not saying it's a
right.
He's not saying, hey everyone, look out, the mothership's coming. So I just don't get it.
And as I realize how much I personally am focusing on things like this, I'm realizing how much of a nerd I truly am.
I'm glad you're catching up to the rest of it.
So, the other strange thing going on.
This is the strangest thing, in my opinion.
Is the UN. And yes, I'm talking about the United Nations, the UN. They have decided to conduct a training exercise of their global planetary defense system.
I mean, I'm glad they're practicing. It seems like an interesting time to be doing a practice.
So from November 27th to January 27th, they're going to practice and refine their tracking analysis of near-Earth objects using 3i Atlas. Every time they bring this up, like if you look on the internet, just look it up. Mm-hmm. They immediately follow with saying 3i Atlas poses no tortura. Okay. And many people have said that. I mean, this is not coming towards us. It's not.
I was going to say Loeb's been saying that.
Yeah. So why did we pick this to test our planetary defense? And that to me it's interesting. And I don't know what else to call it. I know we have this tracking. We want to be able to track near Earth objects. Yeah. We want to know if something is coming at us. So we would be thinking about things like mass extinctions. Yeah. We want to know that. But why pick this one?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And it's definitely, if we're going to talk about doing things that are irresponsible. Not that testing the system is irresponsible, because of course, test the system. Who cares?
Yeah.
That's great. But, doing it right now seems, well, everyone is saying, this is nothing, ignore it, nothing to see here. That just is interesting.
Yeah, why not pick something else?
Mm-hmm.
Why pick this one? So,
yeah, that's interesting.
That just, in my mind, just fueled kind of the discussions online.
Yep.
And makes it all more interesting.
It gives us more to talk about.
So let's talk about Avi Loeb.
Yes.
And the Loeb Scale, which I want to invent a scale, so people have to keep using my name.
Yes, this is, later here in a bit, Chris is going to explain what the Loeb Scale is, and I just feel like this is the pettiest, greatest thing any academic could ever do. Like, the level of petty here is excellent. And I don't think he probably meant it to be petty, but now, as everyone is saying that he doesn't know what he's talking about and he is being irresponsible, they continually have to cite the Loeb Scale, and that is just bad.
That's great.
I love that.
Yes.
So who is this guy?
he's a really smart guy. So I thought about trying to summarize what he's done.
Mhm.
And so I went to his website at Harvard, and I can't summarize it any better than he did. So I'm just going to read it.
Yeah. I like that.
So in the show notes, we have a link if you want to go to the actual page and see more information. But this is his bio. And it's a lot longer than most people's bios.
A lot of links.
So Abraham or Avi Loeb is the Frank B. Baird Jr. Professor of Science at Harvard University and a best-selling author in lists of the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Publishers Weekly, I'm going to pronounce these wrong, Die Zeit and Der Spiegel, L'Express, and more. He received a PhD in physics from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in Israel at age 24. Let me just point that out for a second and pause here. Age 24. Most of us are graduating undergrad at 22.
This guy
Has a PhD at 24. I had a master's degree at 24. I was pretty happy with that. He led the first international project supported by the Strategic Defense Initiative in 83 to 88. Oh, and by the way, he got his degree in 86. So he was leading an international project during that time. And was subsequently a long-term member of the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton. That was 88 to 93. Loeb has written 9 books, including most recently Extraterrestrial and Interstellar, both of which are excellent, I have to say. Extraterrestrial, I loved. I'm in the middle of Interstellar now, and I liked Extraterrestrial better, but I still like this one. As well as over 1,000, that is over 1,000 scientific papers. For those of you who are academics, his H index is 131 and his I-10 index is 614. I can't even tell you, if you're not an academic, that means nothing to you. Don't worry about it. But that means you're really well published.
If you're not an academic, that's telling you it's a measure of how often you are cited.
Yeah.
It's a measure of your output against how often you're cited. So having a really high, those are high H.
Those are very, very high.
I'm
not going to say what mine are, but
those are good numbers. Mine is a 6, friends. A 6. So
okay, mine's a little better than that, but
yes.
I don't remember exactly what it is, to be honest. But
that's fine. I just was looking at myself the other day. That's why I know I have not.
Mine's definitely in the double digits.
I'm not obsessing over my H index, friends. Those are good numbers.
So over 1,000 scientific papers on a wide range of topics, including black holes, the first stars, the search for extraterrestrial life, and the future of the universe. Loeb is the director of the Institute for Theory and Computation within the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, and also serves as the head of the Galileo Project, which we'll talk about, I think, next episode, which started in 2021. He was previously the longest serving chair of Harvard's Department of Astronomy, and that was from 2011 to 2020, and the founding director of Harvard's Black Hole Initiative, 2016 to 2021. Notice the overlap in years here. So he's doing a
lot of things all at the same.
He is an elected fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, the American Physical Society, and the International Academy of Astronautics. He's a former member of the U.S. President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology, so that's at the White House, a former chair of the Board on Physics and Astronomy of the National Academies, and a current member of the advisory board for Einstein Visualize the Impossible of the Hebrew Universe. He chaired the advisory committee for the Breakthrough Starshot Initiative, which we will talk about also, and served as the science theory director for all initiatives of the Breakthrough Prize Foundation. Loeb's latest TED Talk was among the 10 most popular TED Talks of 2024, and we will put a link to that in our show notes, as well as some of his essays on innovation. So that's an impressive bio.
It is. That is a bio. Like I said, it's got a lot of external links, and that is something that I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird, and that's something I pay attention to in people's bios.
Yeah.
I find it. I'm always excited by someone's bio that has lots of external links because I'm like, oh, you're doing all these cool things, and I can go learn more about all the things everywhere else. It's not just, oh, I do this and I study this thing and this is what I do.
I'm go hugely impressed.
Follow me down the rabbit hole. Yeah, no, it's impressive by itself, but the level of we are probably 50% hyperlinks here, and that's really impressive. He's doing a lot of stuff. doing a lot of things.
I just can't get over 1,000 papers and 9 books.
Yeah,
You
that's those numbers are
I mean,
a lot.
I've got like 100 papers.
You need to work on those numbers, Graham.
I know, right? So anyway, that's who Avi Loeb is.
Yes.
And he has created something called the Loeb Scale. So this is a classification system for interstellar objects. And this is also something we'll put in the show notes, but there's a paper that describes it. It was proposed by 3 people, including him, and obviously with his name being the name on the scale, that means he was the senior person in this group.
Yep.
Then it was refined. So it was created in 2025, refined also in 2025. So this is kind of a, something that's ongoing. And so they've created this quantitative mapping process that makes it a continuous score as opposed to just individual numbers. It's all very interesting if you're into how things are developed and looking at the math behind that. But if you're not, then don't worry about it. So it's a 10-level framework, and it's used to classify and interpret interstellar objects and distinguish them between natural or ordinary things, level 0, and then technological artifacts. So level 1, do you want to?
Yeah, so level 1, these are objects with minor deviations or inconclusive data that don't strongly challenge a natural interpretation. So probably natural, but there's some weirdness, but not a lot. Level 2 have some unusual properties, but still likely natural. So slightly more weirdness, but still probably.
It's all levels of weirdness.
Yeah, it's just all levels of weird here. We could call this Loeb's 10 levels of weird if you want. Level 3 is persistent anomalies. So these are anomalies that are happening periodic or over and over, with features such as repeated but unexplained variations in trajectory or unusual morphology. So it looks weird or it's traveling in a particularly weird way. This is the point where researchers start examining them more closely, but probably still natural and nothing to be too excited about. Level 4 is what is called a critical threshold. It's where anomalies are considerable enough to suggest a technological origin along with a natural. So this is where you reach that kind of 50-50, could be natural, could be not. So now we're going to pay a little bit closer attention to it. Level 5 is suspected passive technology, meaning it's artificial origin without any active behavior. So we could think about this sort of like some sort of extraterrestrial probe that's sent out to do a thing. It's like our satellites that we just throw out in space and let them go, and they just go until they're done. Then we have levels 6 through 7, level 6 and 7, which have more artificial technology. This is where we start to see evidence of propulsion and maneuvering or directed electromagnetic emissions. So this is looking like it's guided by something. It's not.
And you can see the refining of this in the papers if you're interested in that.
Then level 8, the object is confirmed as artificial through multiple lines of evidence, but poses no immediate danger. So it's artificial, but we're not too worried about it. And then levels 9 and 10, this is where we have a confirmation of artificiality, and also indicates potential risk, with level 10 reserved for a confirmed artificial object on a collision course with Earth. So if we get to level 10, folks, time to pay attention.
Yeah, level 10 would be bad.
Yes. Well, not necessarily. It's on a collision course, but it might slow down and park. I mean, you're on a collision course with things when you're in the parking lot, but you hit the brakes and put it in park, right?
But that's when we say, like, there's a threat to Earth.
Maybe, assuming they want to do bad things, yeah. So where does 3i Atlas fall in all of this? Initially, 3i Atlas was placed in that little perfect Goldilocks zone of level 4.
And it's still there.
Yes.
Or according to Loeb, it's still there. It's interesting when you talk or look at all of the other people who are kind of looking at this object. Mm-hmm. Some people are putting it more in a 5.
That is interesting.
But he has not done that yet. He's still keeping it.
How irresponsible.
I know. Irresponsible. Keeping it at a level 4. They have seen some people placing it at a 3 as well. So there's some dissension, and that's probably because we honestly can't tell certain things from it. It's too far away. We really there's still a lot of things we don't know. But when asked, Loeb was asked, what do you think are the odds that this thing is technological? And so for all of the people who have been saying, he's saying that it's technology, no. He said, in his opinion, there's a 30 to 40% odds ratio that this is technological. That's not even 50%. So let's just put that in perspective. He is not saying this is technological. He's saying there's a possibility. And
He's saying we should look more closely.
right.
Mhm.
And so that, is a very responsible way of talking in my opinion. What he's saying is that scientists should be considering this alongside the natural explanations. And that if we continue to refuse to consider this or refuse to consider anything as being technological, we're never going to find anything technological. Because if you don't even put it on the table, there's no way you can find it. You can say that yes, it is. So that's what's going on with the triads right now.
So what's going on in other news related to the paranormal? Well, you may have seen a couple of weeks ago the documentary The Age of Disclosure, which took South by Southwest this year by storm, was finally released to streaming services, including but not limited to Amazon Prime. So if you haven't been seeing all of the constant posts about the documentary or the media tour that's being done by the producer.
Oh, you should definitely see this.
If you haven't seen any of this, you should definitely look it up. So produced by Lou Elizondo and directed by Dan Farah, this documentary argues that a decades-long cover-up is hiding the true nature of contact with non-human intelligence and the race to reverse engineer recovered tech. So this is really at the core of the disclosure movement, if you're at all familiar. Now, what I think is most interesting about this film from the passive viewer is that it features interviews with 34 government, military, and intelligence officials. And we're not talking about just no-name people you've never heard of. Sitting Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in this documentary.
Right. So it's current people.
Yes.
It's not no names. It's not faces you've never seen.
Yes. And so we both watched this. Chris, what did you think?
I liked it.
I did too.
I mean, that's kind of the simple answers. I thought it was really interesting. It didn't tell me things that I hadn't heard before.
Yeah.
But I'm somebody who obviously follows some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's more eye-opening for somebody who does not follow any of this.
Yes.
But I really enjoyed watching it. I thought the fact that they brought in people who people would know.
Yes.
Was really impactful. And I think the fact that you're talking to a bunch of people who were in the military, that was really impactful, as opposed to just talking to the average person on the street, because these are people who would know if the government had information and things like that. So I really enjoyed it. I thought they did a nice job. I know there are some naysayers out there who are like, I didn't learn anything. But that's not, I mean, if you're someone who follows this, you're not going to learn something new with this.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good way to get a lot of this information out to a more general audience. So if you have an uncle who's maybe passively interested in UFOs, you may want to cue this up for him when you're home for the holidays.
Or someone who doesn't follow it at all.
At all.
It might scare them, and that's fun too.
That's also fun. That is also.
But the reverse engineering stuff is particularly interesting.
Yeah, that for me, that was something I hadn't heard a lot about before, just because I'm not too deep in the UFO, UAP scene. But yeah, hearing more details about that and hearing about how it's possible that this tech, reverse engineered tech, has been given to private corporations is pretty wild to me. But I don't want to spoil too much if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, definitely go see it. I mean, if nothing else, it's something new and different to watch on TV, which,
That's true.
I can go for that.
That's true. And tonight marks Krampusnacht.
That's right.
So if you have heard of the spirit Krampus, the horned sort of satyr-like Central European spirit, tonight is the holiday where Krampus sort of comes around. It's said that he accompanies St. Nicholas during his visits to children, and is said to punish children by swatting them with a bunch of birch sticks.
That's awesome.
That is
I'm
pretty
sorry.
awesome. I like that St. Nicholas in this lore basically outsources dealing with the bad kids.
I love that.
He's like, Santa Claus is like, fine, I'll deal with all of you. But St. Nick's like, look, boss, I'm only gonna mess with the good kids. You can deal with the good kids. That's right. And so Krampusnacht is celebrated annually on the night before the Feast of St. Nicholas, which is held every year on December 6th. But if you find yourself possibly on Krampus's list, one thing you can do is offer Krampus schnapps, and he may be nicer to you.
So keep some
keep
schnapps around.
some Jaeger open tonight for Krampus. And if you're looking for other ways to celebrate, one of the ways that is pretty common in Central Europe in communities that are really into the Krampus lore is to hold a Krampuslauf. These are parades that feature masked Krampus and perked figures. This is perked as an older spirit that's related to Krampus. But they parade through the towns and they mess with children and, basically have a good time. So make sure you open up a bottle of Jaeger tonight for Krampus. We are not sponsored, but Jaeger, if you want to send us a
If you
case,
want to sponsor us,
I won't be mad. All right, and that's what we've got for you today. So thanks for listening, and we hope that you stay with us as we follow the ongoing Three Eye Atlas saga and all the newest paranormal headlines. This has been Headlines from the Beyond.